Hey, church, we're back for another study in First Corinthians, chapter 2. This week, or this time, I keep saying week, this time we'll be in verses 6 through 11. So let's do it. Um, so we spoke last week, or again, there we go. We spoke last time of the Spirit. Paul's moving on now, um, subordinating all things, right, to the Word Himself, Christ. Then he's moving on to the Spirit. So not moving away from, but in light of the cross of Christ, um, uh, and the resurrection and all these things which are coming too. He's moving on through the Spirit, right? Into the Spirit and through the Spirit, as the source of power and as the demonstration for what it is we put our faith in and who it is we put our faith in. So now he goes on and he's saying, speaking of wisdom, our faith doesn't rest in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God, is where we left off last time. Um, so now, verse 6: Yet among the mature, we do impart wisdom, although it is not a wisdom of this age or of the rulers of this age, who are doomed to pass away. But we impart a secret and hidden wisdom of God, which, which God decreed before the ages for our glory. None of the rulers of this age understood this, for if they had, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. But as it is written, what no eye has seen, nor ear heard, nor the heart of man imagined, what God has prepared for those who love him. These things God has revealed to us through the Spirit, for the Spirit searches everything, even the depths of God. For who knows a person's thought except the spirit of that person, which is in him? So also no one comprehends the thoughts of God except the Spirit of God. All right. So he laid our faith on the foundation, right, of in the power of God in verse 5 last time, so that your faith might not rest in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. So he's saying it's not based in the wisdom of men, but it's in the power of God. And now in verse 6 today, he says, yet among the mature, we do impart wisdom. So he's calling on a maturation outright, right? So he's saying if we get it, we'll hear this. If we're not, or if we're mature, we'll hear this. We'll understand. It's the immaturity in us, the lack of maturity, the lack of having been raised in our understanding to a kingly understanding of wisdom, of being able to navigate all these aspects of life and living and what goes on in this world. Um, so now he's appealing to the mature outright, which he hasn't done yet. So he said, your faith might not rest in the wisdom of men. And now he's going, yet among the mature, we do impart wisdom. And who's imparting this wisdom? Men. Amen. Paul, right? We, Sosthenes too, if you want to include him, and the other leaders that are Gaius and Crispus and those guys that are there, Stephanus, right? So he says it's not based on the wisdom of men. And yet here we are as men giving out the wisdom of God. So, I said I wouldn't beat this thing up anymore, but there we go. Two sides, right? It's an intermingling and intertwining of heaven and earth, right? God and His Spirit and the power of the cross and of the Spirit in humanity. So in the new humanity, because we're going there too with that quote that he said. Um, so again, it's not based on us, not from us, and yet here it is coming through us. Right, the mature we do impart wisdom. So he's calling on maturity now. So as these people go on, as we go on, if it's a failure to understand, and we're not just getting what Paul's saying, forget my convoluted speech and my jumbled speech of mixing everything up. Move me out of the way. But Paul, this word here is immovable. We have to keep it intact. So hopefully, I'm not detouring or detracting from what is being said too much in my efforts. But either way, you will understand Paul, you will understand Corinthians in maturity, right? So, although it is not a wisdom of this age or of the rulers of this age who are doomed to pass away. So, he's appealing to the time, the era, which stands for all time and all eras, right? We can say it's not the wisdom of our age as well, or of the rulers of this age. So now he's appealing to hierarchy again. So I wouldn't say that the rulers of this age, we see somewhere else, or we see here that they wouldn't have crucified the cross of Christ, wouldn't have crucified the Lord of Glory. Rulers, the demonic powers of those age. A lot of Christians are fond of saying it. This is Satan's world. Well, at one point he had more of a handle on it than he definitely does now, because Christ has recovered and redeemed all of creation, right? So rulers includes the human rulers of the time, those wise, those well-spoken, those in authority, right? And there was definitely men of power and of consequence involved in the decision to crucify Christ, right? So it's again a spirit and a earthly aspect, right? There's demonic rulers, there's um, spiritual powers and entities over that age. Um, Heck, over this one, just look around to some extent, to a way lesser extent. But anyway, um, to keep going, there's not of them who are doomed to pass away, still in verse 6. And that doomed, now this one is just me, and I'll give you an out. If you don't like it, it's cool. I'm not really sweating it too much. But that doomed is the same source, the same root word as Apollos' name, right? Which is Apollyon, an abyss, right? So to me, all these things are Apollos to pass away. Now you can say, okay, you're just maybe I'm eisegeting, right? I'm just reading into the text something, not pulling out from the text or word concept fallacy. Oh, just because you see the word doesn't mean the concept is there, Dan. No, it doesn't, and I'm not saying it necessarily is, but I think Paul is storytelling, right? He's giving you the means with a little digging, again, the kingly work of digging and uncovering what God has concealed, even in these words, perhaps. Um, right? I think he's storytelling, so we're being dragged along. So those people who say, "Oh, I follow Apollos," well, if you go all the way and you want to keep following not Apollos, that man himself, but the idea or the what it means to be Apollos, right? The word, you're doomed. You're Apollos. You want to Apollos, then you'll be Apollos eventually if you're not following Christ, right? So I think he's taking us along a trajectory, saying if you follow Apollos, well, you end up Apollos. If that makes sense to you guys. Take it or leave it. I'd say Paul's storytelling, and you can have the fact that I might be just changing his story into a fable. Whatever. I like it. It doesn't. I don't say it carries much weight, but I just thought it was interesting. But they're doomed to pass away. But we impart a secret and hidden wisdom of God, verse 7, which God decreed before the ages for our glory. So we impart a secret and hidden wisdom of God. Again, it is the glory of God to conceal a matter and the glory of kings to uncover it. Right? So Paul's putting us to work. He's going, hey, remember that where it said back there in I think it's Proverbs? What's going on here? Just pay attention to what's going on. This is that. That is this. Um, and so the secret and hidden wisdom of God, I think that's where some of those varying manuscripts and whatnot got in verse 1 of chapter 2, that they proclaim to you the mystery of God versus testimony. Um, and not flat out against testimony, but either or both and, however you want it. I think that's what those readers were. They're going, hey, well, this is a mystery. It's secret. It's hidden. So the testimony of God is just that secret and hidden wisdom of God, right? Yet to be uncovered by humanity, right? As we're raised and being mature, he already called us out on maturity. Um, so I think that lends to why verse 1 has that varying word in there for testimony, and which is why I like and kind of partial to mystery itself, because it is just that. And these are Paul's words right here. These are as far as I know, no qualms about what these words are. Mystery and testimony, maybe, but I think they get it from here. So it lends credence to that interpretation. So, which God had decreed before the ages for our glory. So we're not of the wisdom of this age, which we just read, and our wisdom was decreed before any age, before ages as a thing, before ages itself. So pick one. Before the ages to come, doesn't matter. This wisdom was already existent in the triune God, before any of anything was anything, right? So, and it's for our glory. So, from God, from God, for God, to God, through Christ, on and on and on, for our glory. So, for Him and for us, right? So again, that intermingling, the intertwine of heaven and earth. right? Of God and humanity, of God and Christ, redeemed humanity in Christ. So again, they're tethered together. There is no untying of this. There is no separate entities. There's distinctions, but there's no outright separation. Okay. Verse 8. None of the rulers of this age understood this, for if they had, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. Okay. So they didn't have wisdom. They didn't have the wisdom necessary to make the right call, right? Excuse me. Man, I didn't even eat nothing this morning, and here I am, indigestion. Not that it matters to you guys, but now you know. None of the rulers of this age understood this, for if they had, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. So here they are. They're faced. Human rulers. We know what Satan's after. We know what that realm was after. It was, and still it was through a lack of wisdom. It was out of utter lack that the demonic powers that be would seek Christ crucified, right? And it was from the same utter lack of humanity to go along with the plan, right? So, in the wisdom of God, He used the lack of all other beings to the benefit of humanity and of creation, of God's good creation, to redeem it, right? So, let's see, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory, which was on their end a huge mistake. And again, on the human side, let's just take the human aspect of it. The kings and rulers, the rulers, the Jewish rulers of the time, all those involved on this plane in making that decision were faced with multiple sides. This guy, Christ, claims to be God. He has made himself equal to God, right? And yet we don't see it, where it's a stumbling block to us. We don't see it, right? And then Pilate, and then so on and so forth involved in this thing. Everybody involved, to the man, right, in this decision, was faced with a decision based on multiple aspects. Christ had done all types of things for all these people to see, and yet they made this call, right? So again, there's not based on their wisdom, because look what they did. They did the dumbest thing possible on their own behalf, anyway. Came up with the worst conclusion on their own behalf, and it turned out for the best of creation and for humanity. So, for what that's worth, there it is. And verse 9, but as it is written, and here's this quote: what no eye has seen nor ear heard, nor the heart of man imagined, what God has prepared for those who love him. So that's a quote from Isaiah 64. Not verbatim, but it's going there. And even that tail end may be part of Isaiah 65. A lot of things kind of tie it in. It's not verbatim, loose quote maybe. But either way, if you go back to Isaiah 64 and 65, there's a trajectory, right? God is rebuking the people. He's doing a lot of things we would consider negative, right? I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to do this because your fathers and your sons have done this. I'm going to bring your name will be a curse on the next people, right? All this stuff in 64. And yet, if we take this out to 65, what has he prepared for us? A new heavens and new earth. That's chapter 65, right? That is one of the that's an awesome section of scripture. And I think we're there. Now, whether you have a varying opinion of that or not, depends on how you look at it, right? Here we are looking at the same text in different ways. And that's a big thing in the church. We have we draw a lot of separation from that different viewpoints. But trajectory, no eye has seen, no ear heard, nor the heart of man imagined what God has prepared for those who love him. He has prepared a new heavens and new earth. So we haven't understood, seen, heard, nor the heart of man imagined. And that right there, imagine, I'm all about that nowadays. And I know there's a few other guys that are too. And you might think imagination is something that it's not. It's not fancy. It's not fantasy. It's not creating stuff out of nowhere. Just making stuff up. Imagining is taking the reality of things further, right? So we're taking the proverbial wisdom, the reality of how the world works in Proverbs laid out, into this modern context. Paul did it. He said, "Hey, we bring, we're reimagining." That's what he's doing. I said that last time. He's reimagining wisdom for the modern context, and we have a lot of that work to do ahead of us. And so, hopefully, we're getting there through this text. Anyway, awesome quote, and for good reason. So he's taking them trajectory wise through the Old Testament too. Yeah, these things have gone on. Yes, this thing it still is sometimes, but we're moving somewhere. To the newness of creation and of all things. Verse 10, these things God has revealed to us through the Spirit. For the Spirit searches everything, even the depths of God. For who knows a person's thoughts except the spirit of that person, which is in him? So also no one comprehends the thoughts of God except the Spirit of God. So the things that God has revealed to us through the Spirit, right? So there's the working, there's the power in us, to us, right? Through the Spirit. For the Spirit searches everything, even the depths of God. So if we want to do that digging and do that thing that is the glory of kings in uncovering and searching out a matter, well, that happens through the Spirit, because it's the Spirit who searches everything, even the depths of God. So if we want to attain to understanding deeper and knowing deeper, which he'll allude, know God, he'll say is the priority later. If we want that, it's a deep thing. These things are deep. These secrets, these mysteries, these hidden wisdoms of God are deep. So do the digging, right? A lot of people dig and they end up nowhere. They end up bankrupt. They end up what are the new guys that defect from Christianity and now they're all opposed to it. I don't know. I watch the YouTube channels all the time, but I forget what it's called. But anyway, again, the Spirit. So verse 11, for who knows a person's thoughts except the spirit of that person which is in him? So also no one comprehends the thoughts of God except the Spirit of God. So spirit is how this is coming out to play. How this is working in and through us is the power of the Spirit again. So you don't know what I got going on. I don't know what you got going on. It's the bulk of it is inside you. You can say whatever, you can project whatever you want. People do that all day, but no one really knows. But you know, and I know what I got going on in my own head and heart, right? That's easily enough explained. But the second half of that verse is also no one comprehends the thoughts of God except the Spirit of God. So thoughts, let's just say, now there's different opinions on this, but where do thoughts come from? The mind, right? We'll leave it there. And then, so no one comprehends the mind of God. However you feel about that theologically and philosophically, you can have it. But just for our sake, let's just keep it to our realm of understanding. The thoughts come from the mind of God, right? And the only thing that comprehends it is the Spirit of God. Why? It's triune, it's communal, it's relational. They are one, and yet one in three, right? So our understanding of that is communal. Our growth in that is communal. It's relationship. And he goes on to go through a bunch of subjects that I don't know if we see the similarity, the common tie in everything that he goes, but it's all communion. Husband and wife, it's communion together. Hey, commune together. Don't hold yourself from the other person. Commune together, right? Then he actually goes into the communion table and shows you guys are not in communion at the communion table. Like, really? And then he shows in taking judgments out to the world. And he's like, there's no communion here. You guys can't get through the tough stuff together because you haven't got through the normal stuff, the easy stuff, the simple aspects of life, living together, the enjoyable aspects. It should be, you haven't been able to work through that. So yeah, you can't work through the hard stuff either. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there for this one to keep it as brief as I can. The Spirit is what gets us into the thoughts and the mind of God. And he will go on next time to talk about what that unity of mind is, that singleness of mind is, and what mind it is. And I said it before, it's the mind of Christ. Spoiler, it's coming up. Anyway, hope that's helpful. See you next time.